Hi, and welcome to another episode of Kuntarkis. My name is Michael Yon, and this episode is on karma, reincarnation, and genetics. So let's dive right in with Kuntarkis.
We can put the word up, karma, and we look at it and we say karma. Okay, well, what does it stand for? Well, in the English language, cause and effect. Okay, but if we look at the meaning of karma, the actual meaning beyond cause and effect, it means every action that an individual creates, be it negative or positive, there is always a reaction, whether it's in that lifetime or lifetimes to come. It will always exist. You cannot get rid of karma if karma is not balanced out through any evolution in any species, especially with planet Earth. Because we, as a species here, as being human, we think we're so highly evolved. We're not. We may have brilliant technology, but most of that technology is alien. But when it comes to conscious awareness or conscious understanding, we are so limited in that area of understanding. That's why we need to understand karma. We need to understand the word reincarnation. Reincarnation is simply to carnate. Now you could say this: 1 time, 2 times, 10 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times. It depends on the evolution of that species. Then we have the word genetics. People think naturally genetics are what makes us up as a human, which is true. We can say our DNA, no one else on the planet has got our DNA, yet if we have a child, they have our DNA, because that's just natural. Because when a woman becomes pregnant by a man, the blood that flows through that child, be it male or female, comes directly from the mother, because her blood goes through the lifeline which feeds the blood within that human child to be. Then you've got the father, his sperm. What's within that sperm is tens of thousands of characteristics in different forms, in different shapes, in different memories, in different understandings. Now that is complex. The problem that lies there, we as humans do not deal with our emotions, especially the negative emotions that we experience through every single lifetime. Now, if we go back thousands and thousands of years, most of the time we haven't got time to deal with them because we've been killed. And that's what life was. You woke up in the morning and you say, oh my God, I'm still alive. Because that's what it felt like, because there were so many bandits, so many bad, negative, evil people around, so many wars, you never knew if you were going to wake up the next morning. Because a lot of the, how would you say, soldiers, bandits, rebels, they attacked a civilization while they were asleep, slaughtered everyone, raped the women, and killed everyone. That's the way humans were and still are today. The saddest part, if we don't deal with the meaning of karma and reincarnation and why genetics plays a very big part in the totality of it all, we will never become self-aware of our own thoughts, let alone our thought consciousness. If we have normal thoughts, they simply are from our memory banks in our human brain. And those little electrical currents are running at the speed of light over our entire brain, storing information, analyzing information. And when we have that thought, we might be, say, working on a car, I've got to pick up a spanner. So you're about to pick up the spanner, and it's like the speed of light. And it tells you how to pick the spanner up. But you don't even know that's what it's done. But that's what it's done. But when you start to store information from the mind, that is totality in all things directly connected to your soul, even then the human brain dissects what it believes is useless to you. And that's why the mind is constantly passing over infinite knowledge. And many humans, or very few humans, actually connect to that type of thinking. It can take many, many lifetimes. So we learn, then we connect, then we step beyond what we are. We're better human beings. We're third dimensional. We're trying to get into the fourth dimension to have a higher understanding. And we're growing all the time. But then we have a sector of our society, which is a very large sector, that don't really think like we do. And they don't have a great deal of awareness. Even the surroundings of their own body, they're not aware. That makes it very difficult for them to accept an understanding from a higher level of knowledge. And it can take 1 or 2 or 10 lifetimes before that even happens. That's where the difference is between every single human individual. Because we are not, and I mean not, at the same level of understanding. And that's a hard one for a lot of people to fully adapt or take in. But that's the way it is. There are people who think differently, who act differently, who don't want to change, who do want to change, and trying to get that into some form of balance can take many, many, many lifetimes. To cut it down simply, I take the word karma, I take the word reincarnation, and I take the word genetics. And I take genetics and I put it right in front of karma. And then I ask myself this question, what does that mean? The genetics, that word, will create whatever through karma in your present reincarnation. Because every characteristic that you take on from your parents plays a most vital part in your existence as a human being. Most of the time, in all honesty from the heart, it's more negative than positive. And you can see it in daily life, Michael, every moment of every second. It's there. People get offended so easily. It's like saying, you take on a job and there is a boss who hires you. And he looks at you, male or female, doesn't matter who it is, and you've been hired to do a specific job and to get so much work through the day, whether it's data input or speed dialing, speed reading, speed typing, whatever the job may involve through, say, working with computers. And suddenly, all the work that you're being given, you finish it every day, well ahead of time. And he looks at you or she looks at you. Oh, you need just to slow down a bit because you're a little bit fast and you're making everybody else around here nervous that they have to try and catch up with you. So you try to catch down. Then the boss is a little curious and he looks at your resume a little closer and he realizes you have all these different skills. even in that moment, that boss can see you as a future threat to his or her position. They suddenly put a plan into action without even knowing it. They look for faults in you. And yes, they'll find them. And eventually, through circumstances, you're no longer with the company. Whether it's through you leaving or through him or her finding enough evidence to say that you're not compatible with the people in that actual office and you lose your job. That's a minor situation. But people's emotions play a very big part in everything, in every moment of their life. And if we don't look or try to pull ourselves up for the way we act with people, we'll never get anywhere in life. Because you've always got the majority of people wanting to pull you down. Then you have to ask yourself the question, why? It's through genetics. Sometimes the person who has just been born with their mother and their father's DNA, they end up going to prep, into primary school, state school, and because of the negative aspects of the father or the mother or both, those characteristics come out because the child loves their mummy and daddy. And when the father does something or the mother does something, the child wants to do the same to please them. What they don't realize is they're reinforcing the actual genetics to come out in that child more and more. And that child will experience very similar situations that the mother or the father or both had when they were a child. And that child will carry those emotions, be it negative or positive, right through their adulthood into old age. If they don't have any other realization that, oh my God, I'm just like my mother, I'm just like my father, I've got to change. Because people hate change. We spoke, Michael, about people who are serial rapists and serial murderers. We've spoken about narcissists who are really, really vindictive people. And they will always cry to make the other person look like they're guilty. To take the, I suppose, awareness off them and place the blame onto somebody else. That happens in life throughout all businesses, throughout all governments, throughout families. In fact, it's happening more in families than it does anywhere else, because that's where it all starts. And if we don't realize in our life the things that we do that we would maybe normally not do comes from our parents. We're playing out the role because it's in the genetics. It's like disease. How many families around the world, and I'm talking probably 3, maybe 4 billion right around the world, where they experience illnesses, disease, death under the most unusual circumstances, where in one family there might be, say, 9 in that family and 5 have died from say, bowel cancer or heart cancer or heart attacks or strokes. It seems to follow down the line. That should be showing us that there is a genetic fault, a genetic problem, and we need to change, how would you say, our thinking as adults and become more balanced, more happier than we would normally feel, so we don't pass on the negative traces of ourselves onto our children. And also, we don't act out our negative traces when our children are present, because they're like copycats. They'll copy everything you do when they get to a certain age. And I can even know that with my young son, because he's so loving. If I do things that are negative, he can pick them up. I said a word wrong the other day and he came out with it straight away. I said, oops. I said, no, Daddy was wrong. Daddy shouldn't have said that. That's not the way we speak. Anything, like the way we might eat, they'll copy. The way we put our shoes on, they'll copy. Even the way we go to the toilet, they'll copy. The way we have a shower, they'll copy. The way we clean our teeth, they'll copy. Everything. That means, in reality, they're not a free thinker. It's okay to watch and observe, but we need to learn from a young age that we are an individual and it's okay for us to say do certain things the way we want to. It's there, even in a young child. But most of the time we override that because we don't fully understand that, and we think to ourselves, well, my father did it, his father did it, I'm doing it, why can't you? That's where the genetic problem is occurring. And if we don't fix our bodies up and we have diseases, we most certainly, most guarantee that we will pass on those faulty genetics. And if it doesn't come out in those kids, it'll come out in your grandkids, because that's how it works. And the emotions is a fascinating thing, Michael. If we just say a woman or a man, say they get raped as a child. Heaven forbid that ever happens, because it happens every day in human history, every single day, probably several hundred worldwide every single day. And that's wrong. That is so wrong. And the reason I say that, a child needs to grow up in love. And a lot of children aren't. I know discipline's a very important factor of life, yes. But not if we're coming from negative emotion, because all we're doing is passing on that negative emotion onto them, and they will pass it on to their children, either verbally or through genetics. Now, every time we reincarnate, sometimes we reincarnate with a different person. You got a different father or a different mother. So the characteristics of their gene line gets transferred into our genes, and we live that out. And that's why so many people are so stuffed up emotionally that they can't think clearly for themselves because they're not taught how to. Every single human on this planet needs to learn from a young age about life and death. What happens to a person that literally dies? How do we know they died? Well, they don't breathe anymore. Then what happens to them? Well, most of the time they go to a place called the coroner and they fix them up, and then they go into a coffin and they get buried, or they go into a furnace and their whole body is burnt, so there's no worrying about burying a body. In the Eastern culture, they used to teach that all the time and show children. It was accepted. It was never an issue. Today, they don't do it. Their whole way of life has changed. Too westernized. Westerners are ignorant to the fact of karma, reincarnation, and genetics. They don't learn the depth of the meaning of karma, the meaning of reincarnation, and why we reincarnate. Well, let's get on to that. Why do we reincarnate over and over and over again? Simple answer: to deal with our karma and to learn new lessons. Sometimes you can reincarnate 5 to 10 times, even more, on one lesson, Michael. Just one lesson.
Just one lesson. Well, what's an example of one lesson that you could reincarnate 5 to 10 times?
Oh, it could be a touchy one.
Like,
Okay, I'm learning.
just as an
Yeah,
example.
self-love.
Yeah, self-love.
Self-love.
Okay.
That would be the most precious one. If we don't have, okay, say we are born into a body, we have parents that we think are loving in their own way, and we start to grow up, we end up in a relationship, but we're carrying all these emotions, and we're actually scared to express our love, because that's most people. We think we love someone and they love us in a young relationship, but it's not true. It's not the love that is love. What it is conditional love from our emotions from all our lifetimes. But we don't understand that process. So we never look at it. And we just say, oh God, I love you. Oh God, I love you too. You know, we cuddle, we kiss, we have sex, and we think everything's fine. Most people, when they argue, end up being intimate. And then they make up. That is not the way to make up. That is simply a physical reality that overcomes the harshness of that argument, but it doesn't resolve the emotion. And that's the problem. We need to make up with the heart by saying, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I was wrong. The way I spoke to you, the things I said, the way I said it, I was wrong. I'm just really out of it at this time. My emotions are overriding every sense of sensibility. That's how you talk with, say, your partner, your father, your mother, your brother, your sisters, your friends, to overcome. And that's the way you deal with your karma, Michael. When you do things like that, you'll start to find you won't experience those negative situations as much, and they'll become less and less and less as you go through life. But if we don't recognize them, then it'll continue over and over and over again. That's the reason why we have so many wars through the last 928,000 years, over and over and over. All we're doing is reincarnating, living with a certain group of societies. We get attacked or we attack them. Next lifetime we're there back over here, and then they attack us. And it goes on and on and on. No one understands, and if they try to understand, they think it's just foolish. But it's not, because everything in this universe is energy, and energy is everything. And when we learn to understand that we are this energy, that is a spark of consciousness that's connected through your mind to your soul, that's when we start to become self-aware. We start to go beyond what we fully comprehend. We start to want changes. And eventually, the word karma, the word reincarnation, the word genetics rarely ever comes up. And the only reason it will come up is if you're helping to guide or teach another or others. But how many people, honestly, in Australia alone, out of what? I'm not sure how many people are in Australia. It could be 30 million, I'm not sure. I wonder what the percentage is how many fully understand the meaning of karma, reincarnation, and genetics. What would you say?
Yeah, it would be a minority.
A very small minority. Yes, there's all these spiritual people out there, bless their hearts, right? They think that I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Yes, I'm dealing with myself. And they probably are to their understanding. But the depth of their knowledge is limited. The reason is the habits of their life. And this is one of the most crucial parts of becoming self-aware. You know what Jesus said a very long time ago?
What's that?
The mind is willing, but the flesh is weak.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's the truth. It hasn't changed in 2,000 years. We need to change the habits of life. And there are a lot of things, Michael, that we need to look at as a species to grow consciously. The things that we talk about in society are all second dimensional. They have no meaning. It's just general talk that will do absolutely nothing for you except feed your egos. Because everybody seems to want to talk about everybody else. And the more nitty-gritty the information is about that person, the faster it gets around. And the only thing that most people remember about that person is the bad parts, never the good that they did. And they're so quick to jump and judge because they're scared to be judged themselves. So they pop out as big as they possibly can and judge everybody else. But that's not saying that there are not aware people, like say in Australia. There are. But again, we are all at different forms or levels of understanding, depending on the life's habits and our self-awareness. And the only way to become fully self-aware is to go within. And when you go within, in the silence of your mind, your inner being, and you learn to stop the chatter of the constant thoughts of the human brain, you start to discover your own divinity. And in that divinity, you will fully comprehend the meaning of karma, which is simplified. You will fully learn to understand the meaning of reincarnation, which is simplified. And it's the same with genetics. That's when you truly learn to understand who and what you truly are. And the funny part about that, I was only talking to my wife not long ago and talking about what somebody else actually said and what was sent to us and told to us, that there's this massive change coming and these people are going to help change the whole consciousness of all of humanity in one massive leap, and we will literally shoot up the ladder to higher levels of understanding. And I looked at that and I listened. I said, all right. And that's as far as it went with me, because I know it's not true. Truth only comes from within. You have to find that truth within yourself. And if you come from the heart, the honesty of your own heart, you will know what is truth and you will know what is misguided information. No one who has karma that has been evolving for 928,000 years on this planet and has accumulated lots of karma in many negative ways, which we all have, will be able to leap up into higher planes of energy and be free of it. Because that means the lesson was never learned, and all that's happened is been buried deep down in your emotional cesspool of hate. Because that's where it all goes, right down the bottom, right at your base chakra. And it sits there and festers. And that's why so many people in the entire world suffer deadly diseases like bowel cancer. It's one of the biggest killers on this planet. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. And you've got to ask yourself the reason why. There's two reasons. First is the emotion that you constantly bury. Second is what you're consuming. And I mentioned this many times, Michael, but just very briefly, acetic acid is the worst production when you eat of the flesh. It really is bad to the human body. Acetic acid can do so much damage to a human body in so many different ways. It can literally eat away the main lines of your nervous system and leave you paralyzed for the rest of your life or partially paralyzed. It literally gets into your muscles deep down, and it eats away the inner parts of your muscle and all the little nerves that are within it, and suddenly you lose the strength. You ever noticed how people might have said to you, how I feel weak in my arms and my legs, and no matter what they do, they can't rectify it? That's because they're having their little nerves that run in the billions, Michael, the billions, right throughout your entire body, in every little fraction of your entire human frame. And without them, we become weak. And that's why we have to look at our habits of life in what we consume, and including liquids. We consume so many different types of liquids that are very harmful to our human bodies.
We should look at that more so than our genetics.
Absolutely.
Like we might blame our parents for our ill health, but if we're not changing our habits to be more healthy ourselves, then what chance do we have?
We have none. We have none when you really think about it, because our thought patterns don't change. And if our thought patterns are staying low in their level of thinking, then how would we ever gain some form of awareness to try and grow beyond it? So we just live those days, day in and day out, day in and day out, until we end up in a retirement village, and then we just lay there. We go balmy in our brain by getting dementia and Alzheimer's, and eventually we die. We return back to the child. So we go back to the starting point. That's quite funny when you think about it. Yeah, you can really laugh at that one. So going back again to karma, to reincarnation, to genetics, those three words are so important for any human to understand. How karma affects our reincarnation and the level of consciousness that we come back into a body, into a family. It really does. When we start to become aware and we start to deal with our karma, our reincarnation into human life can escalate to higher vibrations. That means we go into a family that's got more understanding, much more of a loving heart in nature. So it gives us a better opportunity to learn, to understand where we're going. And it helps our consciousness grow beyond what we were in a previous life. So our genetics are better because their understanding is better. Their understanding is that maybe they don't get a lot of diseases. So when we're born, we've got a better start. I mean, God, children are getting cancer and tumours at 1. I mean, that's ludicrous. That's just so crazy. And no one's really looking at why. Yeah. Do you have any questions, Michael, you want to ask about what?
What I just thought then was something you said recently in one of our more recent episodes was how all the life, the insect life and the animal life and all that on Earth, they're actually evolving much faster than us. That's
actually very true, Michael. That's very true indeed. One of the reasons why there's not a lot of emotion. Yes, there's murderers, vicious carnivores. They're really unbelievable. You've seen how these spiders build their nests and trapdoors, like the trapdoor spider. I was watching it. It's just incredible. So quick. And, it's incredible. And what about in the oceans? Yeah, oh, yeah. There's that strange-looking fish that burrows down and into the sand, and when you walk over it, your vibration activates their senses and their mouth comes out,
Yep.
grabs you and pulls you down under the sand. You haven't got you've got a hope in the world.
Yeah, quite inventive, isn't it? Some of the ways that they've
It's
come
amazing.
about. Yeah.
What's more amazing, we have more alien species in the oceans than we have anywhere else on this planet.
Say that again and explain,
Okay.
please.
In the ocean, we have more alien species than anywhere else on this planet. And the reason I say that, I've seen a few documentaries where they've gone really deep. And the deeper and deeper and deeper they go, you see creatures that are so strangely formed that have all these different colours, even the rainbow colours, and they're electrified. That's really weird because they're so deep, you wouldn't think that they would get electrical currents. And yet, they can literally light up the ocean floor. There's a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the colours that come, like, they're colours of the rainbow. And there's ones that are bright purple, there's ones that are cherry red, there's ones that have got several different colours, and the way they move, and you look at them, they are the most weirdest looking creatures. And some of the fish, they're not big, but their mouth is incredible. And they have teeth that are like 3 to 4 centimetres long, jagged, long teeth, and about half a dozen to 8 of them. And they're way down in the bottom. They're not big ones, but that's really weird. And some of them are transparent.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's where man, woman, should be investigating that type of species. I mean, they can get down there now. I mean, in their little submarines and things like that, they can go down, but not long lengths of time, but they can. And that's going down deep. So we have so much on this earth that we can learn from.
And why are you calling them alien creatures?
Because no one really knows of their species. They've never been able to investigate them, even name them, because they've never been able to catch one. So to me, they're aliens. They're a species that breed in an atmosphere that man alone could never exist, or a dolphin or a whale could never exist, because they're so deep. And yet these things exist. There's no light down there, just pure black. And yet they exist, and there's so many of them. It's incredible.
It's incredible. And so you were saying that they have less emotion, and therefore they're less held back when it comes to their own evolution.
We, as a species, and this is so honest, Michael, and a lot of people don't like honesty, I can tell you, but that's just the way it is. We, as a species, as humans, are emotional beings, more negative than positive on an average. And the reason, and this is where we go back to karma, reincarnation, and genetics, the reason we are like that is because many of us still believe that we only live one lifetime. There are people that believe that. Wow. They don't believe that we've been here 928,000 years. And I want to go one step further before I continue with that. Let's look. First of all, let me explain what happened 4.71 billion years ago. It was a being by the name of Kuntarkis. He came into this universe we now call where Earth is. And he came here, you know why? Because he knew what was to come. And he created a planet. He didn't call it any name, by the way. He just created a planet. Then a couple of billion or a few billion years on, well actually 928,000 years ago, an alien race called the Nicarons placed over 87,000 Nicarons on this planet to work out their own, how would you say, habits, nature, karma, because they weren't willing to change their ways. They weren't willing to grow beyond it. And they were like that from lifetime to lifetime. and passing it on to their children, never wanting to change at all. So that was their prerogative. So the Nakarans decided to put them here. Now, when they got here, you had the locals, basically Neanderthals. You would call them Neanderthals. The Nakarans mixed with those Neanderthals. And if we look at Westerners today, this is the outcome. So we have a mixture of Nakaran blood and Neanderthal blood. Now, where did the Neanderthals come from? Well, naturally, they came from ape-type creatures. That is true. No matter how we look at it, that is true. Now, here we are as Westerners. Okay, well, what happened? What about all the Asians? Why are they so different? Is it because they live over in Asia? No. I think I've said this before. A lot won't accept this. But you have to study the Asian race, the Chinese especially, and the Japanese especially. And you have to study in some people the different features that they have. And if you look at some of the aliens in photos that had been captured, you'll see distinct features with their head and their bodies, how they're constructed, and their eyes especially. A lot of the Asians, especially the Chinese and the Japanese, a lot of them look like aliens. Well, then what else is mixed with them? Chimpanzees. An alien race, genetically modified, their own DNA with different variety of chimps and apes. The end result, they wanted to create a peaceful race as an experiment to live and procreate on this earth. Naturally, if you look at the Asians, Chinese especially, and the Japanese, they are brilliant when it comes to technology. Isn't that a fact?
Yeah.
Yes. Why? Well, naturally they have alien DNA. And these aliens are far more advanced in technology than we as humans are. Today I'm talking about. And back then, naturally. So it makes them, they're a pretty old race. So we have now the whole human race. And in that 928,000 years, there hasn't been much peace, Michael. There's always been wars somewhere in some country, if not others, or several. And that's followed right through human history. So consciousness as living energy created the way karma is, the way reincarnation is, and also including the transferring of genetics emotionally from parents' experiences, be it negative or positive. So that combination goes into their children to try and work out the karma from the beginning to now. So the human race can advance consciously into higher planes of communication. Now, Buddha said something very interesting. See if I get this right. He said, meditation is not the outcome of thinking nor concentration. It is the elevation of one's level of understanding to higher planes of communication. That was the meaning of doing meditation. It wasn't concentration. It wasn't thinking. It was through the silence of all to reach different levels in different planes of understanding, like higher planes, so we can learn to communicate at a higher frequency in our own consciousness, which gives us self-awareness. Buddha, when he was there at the age of 4, by the time he was 11, he was already looked upon as a master. Because he spent, from the age of 4 to the age of 11, locked in a room studying books from the past, all their writings. He eventually wrote thousands of pages which were compiled by the actual disciples, because he was so fast at doing his writing, because his mind would just race so fast. He was ahead of so many different levels of understanding. And that's what most of these people have been doing throughout human history, is to help us evolve beyond what we are. Now we've got, now in Australia and the worldwide, we got governments that are literally trying to destroy our way of life, also our health when it comes to consciousness, so we don't become aware. And what they're doing is destroying our individuality and destroying the possibilities of becoming aware, self-aware. They don't want us to grow higher in our understandings. They want us at a certain level so they can control us. That's what Hitler did through the Second World War. That's what Caesar did back in the Roman times. They all seem to do it. Genghis Khan did the same. I'm not sure of that French guy in the 1800s. I can't remember his name, but the little guy, he was short. He had a real problem about being short.
Napoleon.
That's him. Yeah, Napoleon. He did exactly the same. He used reverse psychology on his own soldiers and told them that they were so highly advanced beyond the average person. But he used reverse psychology. That's why they'd go out there and fight well for him. But this has been a real issue throughout human history. And what's really strange, in the last 452 years, that's been played through those types of people, if not being those people, through reincarnation. They don't want the human race to evolve consciously, because if they do, they will never be able to control us. Now, if you remember, just recently, I think in the last, yesterday, what's today's, Sunday night? Yesterday, over 700,000 in Melbourne rallied. It's getting up and up and up and up and up. And it's rallying through every state and every town, major town like Townsville and, Cairns and Mackay and all those areas. It's becoming so worldwide. And at the moment, I know I'm going away from it, but this is just to give you an idea about consciousness through karma, through reincarnation and genetics, because that plays a really big part in how we evolve as a species. If we don't deal with what is going on, it will set us back 300 to 400 years. And we don't want that to happen, because it's going to put such a downer on the human species, it won't be funny. And it'll probably take another 400 years to go beyond it, if that. Because once you're down so low into a level of thinking, it takes a lot to get you back up that ladder. It's like depression. You play a person into depression, then trying to get them to go back up again, it's pretty hard. It really holds a person down, really holds one down. Okay, did you want to ask any questions on that so far?
No, keep going. This is good.
Okay. One of the things that I believe is what we have to do as humans. And there's going to be hundreds of thousands of people, probably several million people in Australia that will say, oh, that's a load of rubbish. No, I'm not going to do that. Well, no one's asking anyone to do anything. The only thing I'm suggesting is that we learn to become strong. Now, to become strong, we have to have knowledge. We have to understand certain principles of life. One of the principles is karma. It plays a big part in our existence as a human being, because karma represents cause and effect. What you do now will come out down the track. It always will. One action always causes a reaction, be it negative or positive. And it's so important to understand the meaning of that that single word. And then we have to put reincarnation in the spotlight and realize that no, we don't come back once. We come back dozens of times, hundreds of times, even thousands. No, we don't just live one life, then die, then get buried, and think someone is going to miraculously, in 1,000 years, bring us back to life. That will never happen. That's not the way the universe works, or any universe works. The point of existence is understanding genetics. Because when we learn to understand the genetics and what's transferred into us, we realize in that moment that the karma and reincarnation plays a big part in the genetics that we obtain from our parents. And that's really, really important.
Wow, can you say that again?
If we learn to understand genetics by learning to understand karma and also reincarnation and how it all falls together with genetics when we decide to incarnate to the type of parents that we will actually have. That will play a very big positive part in our life or a very big negative part in our life. So we need to understand the meaning of those three words and how it plays a big part in our existence as a human being. At the moment, Michael, we all as humans just wake up every morning, we have our coffee, we have our cereal or toast or whatever, your bacon and eggs. Then we go to work, we travel by bus, or we sit in traffic, because that's what happens. The other morning, Michael, very quickly, I was going to go up to North Lakes, which is about 45 minutes from Caloundra. It's a massive, big store, one of the big Westfields. And I go there because you've got Woolworths, Coles, Aldi's, Myers, Big W, Target, and whatever else you got, Kmart. So everything is there. It's a brilliant shopping centre. So I was going up there to finish buying off my Christmas presents all in one go. I left here just before 7:30, got in the car, got up to the road to get onto Caloundra Road, and I looked to my left and I saw the massive line of traffic going down the hill, and I looked to my right and I could see a long line of traffic. Lights went green. I just got around before they went red. 15 minutes down the track, I only moved about maybe 100 feet.
Oh.
And I said, no. I waited till I got down to the next set of lights, which wasn't that far away, which I was very lucky. I just did a whole U-turn and came back home. And also it was pouring down with rain, massively pouring down. The traffic was as far as the eye can see on Caloundra Road. And when I looked at it on the cam thing on the phone, GPS, whatever it was, it showed that the traffic was just chock-a-block on the freeway, right back from the Sunshine Coast, going all the way to, say, Caboolture or whatever it may have been. And I'm glad I came home because I would have been probably 2 hours to get to North Lakes. The thing is, we have to realise that every moment when we wake up, we repeat, that's it, exactly the same thing, Michael, every day.
Yeah.
5 days a week, 6 days a week. Some of us go to one job for 2 hours, then have to drive to another job for another 3 hours and another job for another 2 hours. It's all changed. Our whole lifestyle has become so chaotic and stressful that we have no time to even look at ourselves or to get time to ourselves. And that's the reason why these people in big, powerful businesses are constructing it this way to keep us in a way that we can't think properly. And before we know it, 20 years of our life has gone by. Our children have grown up. We've gone to their weddings. We've spent thousands of dollars. We're retired. We're 65 or 70. We're going to go on a holiday. Oh, I can't. I'm really sick. And you end up in a nursing home. You're still not conscious of anything. You haven't been conscious your entire life because no one's ever given you the knowledge to say, hey, there's another way. What we have to do is look at ourselves and think to ourselves, what can I do to change the way I live, to change the way I think, to even change my job because I hate it. It's like I do it every day for the last 5 years or 10 years or 20 years, and there is no satisfaction whatsoever. I have always suggested to people, find your passion. Find what makes you smile, what makes you laugh with joy, that you find what you're doing is so creative that it inspires you beyond all things. Then find a way of doing it. Part-time. Only an hour a week or 2 hours a week or 5 hours a week. Keep the job that you have until you can turn around and put your passion into play where it makes you money. That will make you happy. Once you're happy, then say to yourself, okay, how do I actually grow? How do I grow to a point that I can accept different forms of knowledge? So I can grow as a being. So I can pass on good genetics to my children. Look at your diet. Because your diet is killing you. Your diet is shortening your life. It's causing all sorts of ailments, which eventually you have to go and get all these different drugs to even try to let your body survive, to keep it functioning. And at the same time, it's killing you in other ways. My father, I'll use an example. My human father, when he was 50, he had a heart attack because of all the stress in his life. He went through the 74 flood in Queensland and his house went underwater right up to his ceiling level, and he lived in the roof for 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 days with a cat. And when the water went down, he had to rip out all the walls. He did it himself. He was so stressed out. I couldn't help him because where I was at Rocklea, I just got myself set up. And I was getting new lounges, new furniture, bedroom suite, new fridge, all this, getting myself set up because I was moving on with life. And the flood came, 26 feet underwater. 26 feet at Rocklea. That was so surprising. And you could just see the tip of the roof of the high set, which was just 2 stories. And I lost my car, I lost all my furniture, everything. So I was trying to recuperate everything in a way, and I wasn't doing very well. But that wasn't the point. When I went to visit my father to see how he was going, all he could do was abuse me. Say, I wasn't there to help him. And he wouldn't listen that I was going through the same trauma. I just lost everything. At least you got a house. And he just told me where to go. So I left. And then I heard he had a heart attack. And that was his stress. And that's what happens to people. They get to a point where they can't handle anything. So they create a heart attack. And that's what they do.
The emotion creates
Absolutely. The emotion creates the heart attack, creates the stress, creates the stroke, creates the bowel cancer, creates the headaches, creates the backaches, creates anything.
The accidents.
Absolutely.
Creates the lack of consciousness, which leads to an accident.
How many people wake up in the morning and they're angry, or they have an argument with their wife, they get in the car and they drive like maniacs. Then they have a massive collision or they cause somebody else's death. Then after that they're sorry, but it's too late. That happens hundreds of thousands all over the world every single day. Every single day. And that's emotion. And that's got to do with their past, which is karma, reincarnation, and genetics. The three words that are the most powerful words in existence, beyond living energy, beyond unconditional love and forgiveness. Because we lack unconditional love and we lack forgiveness. And forgiveness of self is first priority before anything. Because if we don't learn to forgive ourselves and love ourselves unconditionally, beyond emotion, we'll never love anyone else unconditionally. We'll never forgive anyone else because we won't understand the meaning of unconditional love or forgiveness. Everything starts with the individual. Now this, Michael, should be taught to every politician in the world. Every politician should have a psych test before they enter Parliament. Their background should be checked to make sure they're not a narcissist. Like these ones we got at the moment, they're all narcissists. And this is what is governing our lives, all because of karma, reincarnation, and genetic transfer. And we don't even see that. Any questions? Something here?
No, I like that you brought it back to. You mentioned being still and meditation and how that relates to all of what you've been talking about.
Yes.
I think that's good because you raise your vibration, don't you, when you pause and go inside?
Absolutely. Do you know?
And that raises.
Yeah, sorry, mate, go on.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, and that raising does shift the karma, the genetics, the emotions, all that.
Let me say this to you then, and so that people can understand this thing about forgiveness. Through unconditional love, which is living energy, which is the light, if you get into your own space and if you face a mirror, for instance, that's one of the most powerful ways of forgiveness, is looking at yourself and admitting your faults by saying, I'm this most selfish so-and-so in the entire world and I know it and I've never been able to admit it. Or I'm the most violent person in the universe. Or I hate everybody for whatever reason. I'm not loving, whatever the reason may be. If you can face yourself and say these things with meaning from the heart begins to light up. You suddenly feel this energy starting to surge. By doing that and then wrapping yourself by using your thought consciousness through your imagination and just close your eyes and just wrap your hands around yourself and see a blanket of pure love, which you say pink. Pink represents love. Use pink. Wrap this blanket around yourself and see it and feel it and say, I love myself and I forgive myself in every moment of every breath. I am so sorry and I apologize to myself for all my experiences. And I am sorry to all those that I have hurt. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. If you say things like that, you are sending out living energy, and that living energy will touch the person that you've offended, whatever the reason may be. They may never know it, but they'll feel something. But what's more important is what you have acquired for yourself. You've acquired a little touch of unconditional love. You've acquired a little touch of forgiveness. By doing that more and more and more, even for 5 minutes, 2 minutes, or as long as you want, you will begin the transformation from your past by letting go of your negative karma, of your negative lives in your reincarnation. And you will no longer get as heavy transfer of negativity from your parents because you'll have parents with a deeper understanding and you'll start to escalate up the ladder of consciousness, and you will feel better every single time, every single lifetime. The more you do that simple exercise. These politicians should be doing it all the time, because they should be governing the people for the people, not for the government. And that's what they do now. They do it for the government. Simply power mongers without a heart, without empathy.
So, yeah,
go on, sorry.
Like you're literally shifting karma, aren't you?
Yes.
When you stand or sit in front of the mirror and forgive yourself, and energetically those ties to others are breaking and restrung in different ways because of the consciousness that you've brought forth.
But don't do it with emotion.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right,
do
right.
it with honest heart feelings. Don't do it with ego and think that you're going to heal yourself and dissolve all your karma. The only person that can...
It's not a willful way. It's not willful. It's more of an opening of your heart, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Well, I don't have anything really to say at this point, Michael, unless you have a question you want to ask. I think what's been said at the moment, I think if people listen to this with an open mind and an open heart, without judgment, they will begin to see the reality of truth. And once you begin to see the reality of truth, your heart will light up and you'll feel the energy surging through your body. That is your heart's energy telling you, I am here for you.
Beautiful. I guess there was one other thing I wanted to say, like life can be extremely repetitive, can't it? Like if things aren't changing in your life, even when you're actually beyond the body and you're dead, it can be so... the fact that life is so much the same kind of chaos, the same kind of emotions, the same kind of everything, that should be a sign that, hang on, I need to inject some consciousness and some love into my life, because it's obviously just more and more of the same.
If you inject love into your life, not conditional love, that's why we fall in, I can say this extra part because I think it's very relevant, that's why we fall into the trap. And I have fallen into the trap a few times myself, be honest, and that's learning. And we end up, because of our emotions, because of our karma, because of the reincarnation through lives, we end up taking parents, having genetics passed on to us that allows us to live and experience the same lives that they're living, if not more, in a negative way. And we attract people into our lives through relationships that cause us more harm, and it makes us more angry, and it makes us more discontent with life. And the more discontent we become, the more negative people we attract into our life. And only we, as an individual, can change that. And Michael, it is simple if we are willing to put the energy into changing.
You've always said, the point is to break free from your parents' genetics and find your own individuality.
Yes. You can love your parents, absolutely. You can also even, use some of their traces because they're positive. But it's when you're not aware and you're living the same negative traces that they're in their own existence, that's when all you're doing is being a clone. You're not being an individual. And individuality, again, is a very big, important part of evolution. Because we all have to become consciously self-aware to evolve as an entire species consciously. And this government doesn't want us to be an individual, by the way, because individuality stops their negative plan. Yeah.
Yeah, they just want us to be all the same sheep.
That's right. Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Kuntarkis, for all that you've shared.
You're very welcome, Michael. Very welcome indeed.
And some of the topics that were covered in this episode are covered deeper in previous episodes. For instance, the reptilians and the Doricans. If you want to find out more about that, then go to our past episodes. If you want to if you have a suggestion that you'd like to place maybe on our Facebook page, Kuntarkis, as for what you might like to hear next, then please engage with us on Facebook. Also, Kuntarkis has a website. It's etcconsciousness.com, so you can find out more about him there. That's it for now. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Michael Yon, and stay tuned for more.